Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Why, hello there. Welcome back.
8 hours ago, boy, that seems like it was forever ago. The control system is out to get you. It is, in case you realize that. I know all you guys pretty much understand that. And this was a Patreon exclusive. Lots of really weird and curious things going on out there. Everything is getting exposed, and yet it feels like we're all kind of standing on a cliff that's starting to crumble, and we need to get our butts in maybe a little bit higher gear, perhaps. I mean, only speaking for myself, guys.
There's a lot to do, but will we ever really be done? I don't know.
Well, let's not answer that question. Will we ever be done? And the long term, no. How many of you remember this? Let's just go here and start over here. It seems like it. Let's see. Okay, here we go.
That's also, of course, true with COVID, right? We are all only as healthy as our neighbors on our street, in our city, in our region, in our nation, and globally.
Well, let me just first say, no, that's not true. My neighbor is a mess. We're fine. So, yeah, first off, that's not true.
Did we solve that? Did we actually manage to vaccinate everyone in the world? No. So highlighting water as a global commons and what it means to work together and see it both out of that kind of global commons perspective, but also the self-interest perspective, because it does have that parallel. It's not only important, but it's also important because we haven't managed to solve those problems which had similar attributes. And water is something that people understand. Climate change is a bit abstract. Some people understand it really well. Some understand it a bit. Some
just don't buy your bowl.
Don't understand it. Water. Every kid knows how important it is to have water. When you're playing football and you're thirsty, you need.
Are you threatening us? I think she is. Do you not think she is? I think she's threatening us. By the way, warning about drinking water issued nationwide. Yes. Why? Well, it could be due to potential cyber attacks. Disabling cyber attacks are striking water and wastewater systems throughout the United States. Ongoing. Now. Well, we're at war. The world's at war. It's going to be taken to another higher level. So this is what they're telling us right now. And in fact, again, governors around the nation, the U.S., were alerted to this and to be on the lookout. And it's not just the governors. We were talking about the warning that was given to sheriffs before. In fact, there was a migrant that crossed the border illegally that literally came out and told people, I'm part of Hezbollah. That's what he said. He said he was part of Hezbollah. He literally came straight out and said, yeah, he's part of Hezbollah and he's looking to go blow things up in New York. Oh, wow. You want to be a little quiet about that, do you?
No, not to him. He seems to be okay just bragging about it.
Well, no offense. I have no intention of ever going back to New York, even though the pizza is awesome. It's just too buzzy for us. Meanwhile, the WF has told us cyber attacks coming. Massive cyber attacks coming. You're not going to have your internet. It's going to potentially destroy the economy of nations. In fact, I don't think we've mentioned this. I don't think I've mentioned this enough. But I do think that the economic collapse in the U.S. And thus, of the Western world will coincide with the direct attack on the U.S. and NATO, which is not probably too far off. Again, I think we're looking at that timing like the guides gave us back in December 2022, and we're on record as saying that, they gave Cindy a vision and it said 1.5 years and we saw war on U.S. soil. Now that 1.5 years will take you to right around May, June of this year. And it does feel that we are still heading that way. So the WF has warned us of a huge cyber attack. We have the government warning of a cyber attack, shutting down the water systems, and there again we have governors being warned about nationwide warning. Drinking water Just a coincidence? Well, yeah, you don't get the climate change. It's too over your head to understand the science. Or maybe you just don't buy the BS anymore. You'll get it when there's no drinking water. By the way, we switched briefly from La Nina to El Nino. Now we're going back into a La Nina pattern. So what does that mean? I think it means that, hang on tight. We might be in for more drought. That's kind of what it feels like after alleviating and getting rid of so much drought in the U.S. It seems like they're going to turn off the spigot with all that geoengineering.
I don't know. We all better get our rain dance dress shoes on and just get some more rain.
Yeah, in the other place that we were at, I did set up rain barrels, and I was just getting the vision today to set up rain barrels, water catchment, just in case. I mean, we were walking distance to a river in the worst case scenario, and a river that has, a good amount of fish in it. Not that we're the best fishermen in the world, because we certainly aren't. But again, just have backup to your backups as best as you can.
Indeed.
Meanwhile, as you see, world on the brink as Taiwan admits U.S. troops are now stationed on the Chinese border. American troops are to be permanently stationed in Taiwan, according to Taipei. Huge move that will likely send tensions with China soaring, as Xi Jinping has said that is part of China and it will be, brought back into the fold. Meanwhile, this fired Winnipeg lab scientists appear to be using new names in China. And, were they spies the whole time? Probably. There's probably too many spies here to count, is the reality. There's a lot going down right now, a real lot going down right now. And it's almost too much to keep up with. But these were two scientists who were fired from Canada's top microbiology lab over national security fears linked to their connections to the People's Republic of China. Well, they've started new lives under new names, but they seem to be the ones that were fired for potentially stealing secrets, and also maybe they were part of what brought about the plague upon the land. We understand there's many layers to that. Every nation on this world is probably involved with the plague upon the land in some way, shape, or form. Either past government officials that are not anywhere in power anymore. There seems to be a lot of people dropping like flies. And here you have a top executive at Bill and Hillary Clinton Airport in Arkansas shot in a firefight with the feds. Pre-dawn execution of a warrant and ensuing firefight left an executive from the Bill and Hillary Clinton Airport hospitalized in unknown condition. A lot of guns and ammo were seen being taken from the house. So his name is 53-year-old Brian Malinowski, injured with multiple gunshot wounds. Neighbors very, very confused as they heard about 5 or 6 shots. Statement from the Arkansas Department of Public Safety detailed that the airport executive was injured with gunshot wounds and treated on scene by paramedics before being transported to the hospital. An ATF agent also sustained non-life-threatening gunshot wound in the firefight. There's no details on what they were coming to execute that warrant for. So very curious. He has worked at other top airports throughout the country as well as this one. So curious. And then Sadhguru has been taken in for emergency brain surgery at the Apollo Hospital in Delhi. I saw people saying, is he going to be taking his buddy Elon's Neuralink chip and having that implanted? That's interesting because, unfortunately, Sadhguru is definitely a weefer. He is one of the WEF. He has talked about too many people on the planet. But this is exactly what they do. They'll infiltrate every aspect of, all of our society. Every one of our traditions will be infiltrated in some manner to discredit that tradition or to turn and change it.
Well, you know, to me, especially if it has to do with a belief system, they're going to infiltrate that to a very high degree because that's where we get our life breath. I mean, we're very spiritual beings, and it's important that they cover every aspect of it. So, yeah, I mean, it is very, very strange how so many of these that are in the control matrix that are weefers, strange things are going on.
Heavy smoke flames spotted near World Trade Center following high-rise rooftop fire. Numerous firefighters on the scene in downtown Manhattan Financial District near the World Trade Center, working to extinguish a high-rise fire. Interesting. No reported injuries. All the construction workers on the site have been accounted for. Yeah, and these times you gotta just always wonder if anything is sabotage or not. Here you have breaking multiple brush fires. This is in Washington, D.C. area. This is in Virginia. Fairfax, Montgomery, Howard, and Prince William counties. Interesting, because, you know, as this person says, this is Peter Forrester. He's a storm chaser, a nature photographer. Never seen anything like this in Virginia before. At least 3 active fires on this part of the Manusautan Mountain and others in the region. Sky is turning orange and it's hard to breathe. Wind is still stiff. You know, again, when you see all these fires popping up at the same time, you got to wonder, because there's so many people here that we, we understand they're coming here with ill intent. And not, again, that's not to say all migrants, but yes, there are a lot that are coming here to bring down the U.S. The Italian government signed an agreement on the formation of a European Rapid Reaction Force in addition to Italy. So far, Germany, Poland, Sweden, Lithuania, and Great Britain have signed. And over here we see a lot of hardware heading out and a lot of hardware heading over towards, again, the war in Ukraine. Will it make it there in time to be used there, or will it end up being used somewhere along the way as, things are getting close to really, really shooting off? Over 3,000 pieces unloaded in a Greek port, including Bradley fighting vehicles, JLTVs, and other tanks as well. Wow, things are really going kind of crazy here. And again, to be expected, getting so close to the eclipse. And a lot of people are just buzzing about that. I mean, you have everybody and their uncle and aunt too saying, why are we having all these school closing? Why are we having everything shut down? Why are we having all these emergency warnings to do with the eclipse? And they didn't do that before. Why? Is it simply because a lot of people are expected to turn up because they instinctively know there's something special about this eclipse? Or is it basically the signal that the sleeper cells were waiting for?
I don't think it's a time where that we should just disregard and think that everything is going to be okay and everything will be normal. I mean, hopefully everything will be okay and everything will be normal. Now, what I can say, though, it is an important eclipse for the human design, for the human being, for our energy bodies, for our ascension. This is very, very important. So do I put it past the control system to really create a lot of havoc on such an important day for humans to really be on an ascended path? Yeah, because fear and turmoil and trauma will pull humans down. But hopefully it's just going to be a really, really wonderful and beautiful event. And then a lot of lives are going to change. A lot is going to change. Not just lives, but I kind of see more, a little bit more purging going on.
And there's been a series of at least 16 fake Mayday calls that the U.S. Coast Guard is investigating. This is in the Baltimore area. Again, that greater Baltimore, D.C. area. So, that is curious too. And then that naturalization through military service is a reality. So, many have talked about the migrants coming in automatically being signed up and handed a rifle and told to, go do your thing, whatever that thing may end up being. It's not just rumors. This is real. Meanwhile, the starvation in Gaza is a reality and as well. And this is just echoing Nostradamus's prophecies that involve a comet and all sorts of disasters in a horrible month of April that will go down in the history books. And, you can't make this up because there's, again, so much specifics that he gives, not just your wars and rumors of wars that you get in the Bible, etc. I mean, detail, real detail. And again, he was part of the control system. Whether or not he had these gifts, to me, it doesn't really matter. He knew the plans. That sounds crazy, but he knew the plans back in 1555. Now that kind of is mind-blowing, I think, to most people out there.
Well, you really couldn't know the plans unless you had access to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of other plans where they've done things to human beings. So this is one of those things where, to me, it just easily ties it to other entities that live hundreds of years that know what's going on way ahead of us, and the stuff we talk about in that Patreon.
Yeah, and there is a Bible verse that says a day is to the Lord as if a 1,000 years is to a person. And then yet again, in both the Greek mythology and the Hindu mythology, when we're in a different age, we live thousands of years. So if we are endowed with some of the same DNA as the oppressing control system, that potential's there. So this might be just like, okay, well, to them, they'll come back in a week or two and it'll be time to bring about another Armageddon, and then they'll leave and then they'll come about and do it again, because it has happened more than one time. Now they're also talking about an infiltration into Rafah down in South Gaza, and I just bring up, look to what history says happens to the Canaanites. They were exterminated in the first conquest of Israel. Well, that's the land that Yahweh said that it's going to be for the Israelites. Meanwhile, there were tons of tribes living there, thousands and thousands of people living there, perhaps even more than thousands. They'd been there a long time. Well, they got booted out, just like the Native Americans got booted out here. It's history repeating itself. And the sad fact is, a lot of people really are starving to death at that point in time. Then we look at the bigger picture with what they have envisioned of global conflict, and Nostradamus again talks about a horrible famine that's spurred on by war, but also by a pestilent wave. And pestilent wave, you think about the plague upon the land and whatever else is coming. Meanwhile, you got cases of whooping cough that is unusual. Haven't seen that before in these type of numbers. Measles, well, that's unusual. Haven't seen that before in these type of numbers. We could go on and on with things like dengue fever, again related to mostly the mosquitoes, malaria. There's all sorts of things breaking out all over, and then of course there's something off in the future which looks a lot like Ebola, but a much more easily transmissible Ebola that won't burn itself out quite quick enough to not be a problem on a larger scale. All the more reasons why to boost your immune system and take care of your health as much as possible. And of course that involves not doing certain things and doing certain other things. And one of the things that we were talking about, and I'll just mention it briefly on the Patreon video, was the fact that now they're trying to say that intermittent fasting can kill you. Upside down, inside out, everything about this system is just got to use your own judgment. For us, whatever they say, we'll go the opposite direction.
It's worked quite well.
It certainly has so far. Only 30% of New Yorkers are happy with New York, and half of them plan to leave within 5 years. If that happened, New York would no longer be the number one largest city in the U.S. I'd be right about on par with LA. But unfortunately, everything is about to really change, and all these stats are not going to really amount to much because, again, there's been forecasts about what's right around the corner. The quicker we can wake up more people, and shift it. And there's buzz right now about possibly Trudeau getting booted. And if we could boot the ones that needed to be booted as quickly as possible, maybe we could change the outcome, and we could certainly maybe shorten this war that they are so intent on starting.
I think that would be good if we could get them booted out.
The federal carbon tax is increasing. Now this is up in Canada. In just a few years, it's going to cost the average Alberta family over $2,000 a year for just that tax. This is insane. I mean, it's total insanity. The system is just a travesty, and people are waking up to this. You have people like Tim Gaudette that says he's totally convinced that some UFOs are advanced non-human technology. Well, that's just Tim's opinion. He was a rear admiral. He's a very high-level military guy, so he's at that level where you should take it seriously, because even if it is the case where this is part of the bigger plan, which it is, so it's not that he's necessarily speaking out against the system, although things are coming out. I mean, he says he personally knows people that oversaw crash retrieval programs and analyzed, these things are made by non-human intelligences. Extraterrestrials are real, and yet you will still have some fundamentalist types that think that they're all just demons. Yes, there are some that are very demonic, and absolutely, the control system itself is very demonic. But that doesn't mean there's not extraterrestrials. We're not alone. We've never been alone. That's the biggest lie that there is. And here you have Robert Bigelow, who previously did own Skinwalker Ranch, which is a portal. It's a major, major portal, and also an opening to inner Earth. And he says aliens and UFOs are linked with consciousness. Yeah, it is. And interdimensional is a reality. A lot of these beings, I've been a witness to a tall gray, looked a lot like these guys, only he only had 3 fingers. And he was 8 to 9 feet tall. I woke up, and I was in Florida, and this happened shortly after. A couple nights earlier, I woke up and walked into the living room and saw the living room door wide open, and I had locked it. And, a couple nights later, I wake up and feel something doing something about 2 inches below my navel, which is where what we call in Qigong your lower dantian. That's the storage point for your Jing. Jing is Qi. It's life force of a thicker, more viscous nature. It's what keeps the physical body going. And he was literally puncturing that. He was puncturing that on the etheric level so that I would have a leak in life force that would weaken me to the point where I would be susceptible to anything else and could start to get sick again. Because at that point, I almost felt invincible with the Qigong I had done over years. I felt like my system was so strong that there was no way. I was never worried about catching any sort of colds because I didn't think I could get sick, actually, at that point in time. And then this happened, and I saw him, and he was really surprised I was able to wake up. I wasn't under his little hypnotic spell. And I saw him clear as day, and I watched him for about somewhere between 45 and 90 seconds is what it felt like, because I was just making note of his body, his presence. He was very physical. He immediately broke eye contact, looked away from me, started to meditate, and slowly it became an energy pattern, and then he was gone. It was so cool. I mean, honestly, I wasn't scared at all, and I was just, kind of happy to have the chance to actually see one literally, right next to me and watch this happen, because I completely know that they can materialize and dematerialize, at will.
I mean, there's things that have happened, Mike, and it just makes it undeniable. And even before then, you just know that there's other life force, different forces out there. And what these beings have that we don't is that extra ability to leap around and in and out of different dimensions. Here in the 3D, we're in this linear path, and we're in this one dimension, and we can't step in and out of time. But these other entities, they have the ability to be other places at once. They can step in and out of different portals. They can make portals. They can go places that we can't, and they can see things that we can't. They can also make themselves invisible. I was just talking to someone the other day about how their presence, even though you might not be able to see them, can just bring in sheer fear. I mean, just sheer fear with like no rhyme, no reason, no, it's like, why? What's going on? So they are very, very real, and they're very different. And it does make it difficult to live in this world when you know what you know, but you're not allowed to talk about it. And I think that causes a lot of angst for many, many people. They have nobody to turn to, nobody to talk to. But I do suggest to people, if you don't have anyone to turn to, talk to, write, and get that information out and get it somewhere else so that your soul can start to heal.
Yeah, I ventured to say, because of all the people that we've talked with over the years, that probably at the bare minimum, 10% of people have had, physical close encounters, bare minimum. It might be 20, 25%. It could be that high. It's a lot of people. It's a lot more people than most people understand. And it does run in certain bloodlines because we incarnate in certain groups. So, my kids, both of them, told me they were terrorized by gray type aliens, and I believed them because I had seen them too, and my father had too, and my father was a devout Catholic growing up, went through 12 years of Catholic school, and he was very, very quiet, but the one thing he told me is, I know there are aliens. I know, I've seen. And he would never go into detail. He'd never even share that with anybody, not even my mom, because I had told my mom that Dad had told me that after he had died, and she was like, really? So that was curious, but he certainly never wanted to talk about it, but he had firsthand experience, and it's the same thing with Cindy's family. In fact, when we look at these and we think about all the things going on in a religious context, I've shown these so many times. These paintings are, a lot of these paintings are 500 to over 1,000 years old. And they show UFOs in a religious context. This one's from 1440 through 1404. 44? I can't quite make that out. But, this is just something that we should take note of. As you have angels, which are one thing, and you have aliens or people, flying around, and humanoid beings flying around in ships, which are something different. Something different, yes. Again, they're not all fallen angels. Angel just originally meant messenger. This is the problem with mistranslations. It's like talking to little kids that keep saying Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, and it's like, no. Santa's your mom and dad. So is the Easter Bunny. This is what's really going on, but they keep going back to, well, Santa Claus will bring me. No, it's not Santa Claus. Santa's your mom and dad. It could be frustrating because, it's really indoctrination and brainwashing has taken hold to such a big degree that they can't see the forest for the trees. And, again, these beings looking down on humanity. And yes, beings such as Yeshua and Miriam and Mary, they do look down, and they do try to help us where they can. Yeshua was a real being, and so was both Marys, Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene. Yet, again, what do? They end up creating a version of the teachings of a wonderful teacher that's trying to illuminate the minds and hearts of humanity to the human potential and what we really are in the darkest of ages. And they just turn it into another tool for them. And this one we've shown as well. You see, a clear saucer shape coming down at the baptism. With John the Baptist and Yeshua. And so when you see this, and let's just play this right here. I think, we've been talking about this. You have an altar for the sacrifices to start again. Get that third temple rolling.
A massive altar already awaits, where the heifers are to be burned. According to some believers, the ceremony needs to be performed right here on the Mount of Olives, looking directly into where the temple once stood. But something else now stands in its place.
The Dome of the Rock. Watch, and I've always thought, watch them destroy the Dome of the Rock. If they destroy the Dome of the Rock, you will see all of Islam unified in like 5 heartbeats and marching to actually absolutely exterminate every Israelite. And it would be on like Donkey Kong, if you remember that saying.
Yeah, definitely not a good picture.
No, and so, we have to be on the lookout. It's through religion that they've utilized the most control over the human mind, and as Cynthia said, belief sets are everything. This kitty can see solutions to problems. If this kitty could see that, we should be able to see it too. We should be able to unbrainwash all that conditioning. It starts, just as a little kid. You're terrified. You got to go to school, meet all these new people. You're going to be away from mom and dad. And you got to pledge your allegiance first and foremost. Yeah, absolutely. You're told. You're indoctrinated. Other cultures don't teach like what we've had in the West, and our indoctrination has been so very, very well thought out. But yet you can't stop the unveiling. You can't unravel the apocalypse. It's just going to keep going, and we're going to be having to choose. Are we going to just kind of la 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 la? I can't hear you. Santa Claus is coming. Easter Bunny too. Don't tell me, Billy, that it's mom and dad. I don't want to know. I don't want to hear. I want my own little paradigm.
I know. It's something that's not easy to look at, and not everyone can. You might be with a family that absolutely refuses to see, and sometimes that's just where you're at. And you have to carry on and with your own understandings and do what is right for you moving forward. Not an easy thing to do, but definitely hold your light. Things will get better.
Absolutely. And we want to thank you guys again for your support. We couldn't do it without you guys. Stay prepared. Take heart and know, we are eternal beings from the get-go. We don't need anything to change that. That's our very nature. We're having a temporary human experience. This is just a learning experience. This is just a growing experience. Keep that in mind.
Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.